We're very excited to be able to have this opportunity to showcase our Cummins B6.7 2021 product inside our school bus application. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Ziggy Molesky. I'm a technical support manager for the North American bus market. My career started with Cummins somewhere around 1990 as a technician in our Indianapolis location. And over the years, I've had the opportunity to have various service and customer support roles. Also joining me today is Ryan Vaughn, our North American bus customer support manager. And Ryan, if you could, give us a brief history on your career.
Yeah, thank you, Ziggy. So I also began as a technician, however, it was not for Cummins. It was for a coal mine in southern Indiana. But then I did join Cummins in 2008 and held a lot of various customer support, technical type roles as well. However, the last 10 years, I've been extremely dedicated to the North American bus market.
And Ryan and I would like to both thank our customers for joining us today. And as we get started, can you give our customers an overview of what we're standing in front of?
Yeah, so as you might be able to pick up here, this is actually one of our engineering mules that we've been able to use to help validate the 2021 product. And this is what a near production type intent engine that we've got here that we'll get to see be produced starting in January.
And this is one of the field test engines that we work with. And with that, we've got over almost 2.5 million miles of field test on this product.
That's right, 2.5 million miles of pre-development work that we have in real-world use prior to this launch.
And that's really building on what this engine is known for as being the proven champion. We've got over 12 million manufactured engines over the last 3 decades. And as we walk through the 3 decades, can you highlight some of the milestones for our customers?
Yeah, even as John mentioned earlier, we started producing the B in 1983. And actually for school bus application, it was a few short years after that that the first one was introduced into the school bus market. But however, the engine remained pretty much unchanged until 1998 when we went from a 12 valve to a 24 valve head. And then in 2002, we introduced EGR to help start reducing NOx levels, in which we further reduced in 2007 along with particulate matter by adding a DOC and DPF to the exhaust. Then in 2010 is whenever SCR and DEF was introduced. And also along this journey, we increased the displacement from 5.9 to 6.7. And then in 2017, we were really proud of that launch. We took the 3-piece after-treatment assembly and condensed it down into a single module and made a lot of other reliability and technical improvements with that. And then here we are today, getting ready to introduce the 2021 launch.
That's awesome. One of the things we're also going to touch on today is the L9 engine. And why it's not here to be showcased. Can you give us a little history on how the L9, does it match up with the B, or how does that work?
Yeah, very close. It actually was introduced in '85, and it has had a lot of the exact same milestones for the different technology changes as well. And then same for the after treatment assemblies and stuff too. And a lot of the improvements we get to talk about today for the 2021 B will highlight how many of those are shared with the L9 as well.
What's the horsepower rating for the B6.7 and the L9?
Yeah, so we're talking it starts at 200 horsepower, goes up to 300 for the B series, and then for the L9 it starts at 260, goes up to 360, and then their respective torque ratings to pair with those start at 520 foot-pounds for the B, going up to 660, and then for the L it starts at 860 foot-pounds and goes up to 1150.
You know, some of the other technical specifications that we get asked questions about a lot is clutch engagement. What's the clutch engagement for these 2 engines?
Yeah, so the B series starts at 400 foot-pounds and the L starts at 575. I mean, this is a term that gets used with the truck market a lot. Obviously, we don't really have any manual transmission school buses anymore with a clutch. However, for our market, you know, this is very important for us compared to the competitive engines available and stuff, that great startability and the ability to clear intersections in a safe manner. Whereas with truck engines and stuff, it's more important for them is great ability and stuff like that for maintaining speed with heavy loads.
Awesome. The last kind of thing that comes up, and it started probably when we introduced the after treatment, but what's the weight of our after treatment system?
Yeah, great question. As I mentioned, how proud we were of the 17 launch, that is when we was able to reduce the after treatment down to only 145 pounds. That was a 60% reduction in space and a 40% reduction in weight with that.
great savings for our customer
Mhm.
as well. So we're going to start focusing on the B6.7. And one of the things that we hear a lot when we're out with our customers is this is a proven engine. It's a proven champion. We've heard it called that. And they say, whatever you do for as far as improvements is don't mess it up, right? And we've gotten that verbatim from customers in more than just one. So as we start to walk through the 2021 EPA changes and things, improvements that we've made on this engine, can you highlight some of the things we've done for the component changes, the maintenance, and the total cost of ownership?
Yeah, that is one of my favorite quotes that we gathered. Is we went around the country, North America, gathering VOC from school districts and technicians and such. And that is my favorite, is don't screw it up.
Don't screw it up. Yeah.
It really says a lot where
where
we've come from.
So we got some key pillars,
Mhm.
all right, that help us hopefully not to do that, right, and provide a great value for our customer. And what's the first pillar that we work with?
So with a lot of our product changes, obviously a lot of times it's emissions driven,
Mhm.
regulatory requirements. So with this one, it is EPA and CARB compliant for 2021. The main change we're looking at here is the CO2 output. NOx and PM are very low already. We're continuing the same requirements for that. But on the CO2 piece, the only way you can really reduce those numbers is your CO2 output is directly correlated to your fuel consumed, your fuel burned. So with that EPA 17 product, we did a large fuel economy increase, further refined that, and we're actually exceeding the regulatory requirements with it.
That's awesome. The other thing that's really important to us is trying to deliver to our customers and have something that's add value to them, right? And that's around the maintenance, right? So can you touch a little bit on the maintenance, what we've done to help improve our maintenance intervals and things of that nature?
Yeah, so to help maximize uptime, we did synchronize our oil and fuel filter intervals. But at the same time, the big piece on that was we nearly doubled the oil drain and quadrupled the fuel filter interval.
Well, that's awesome. And I'm sure we'll have some more information as we proceed through this presentation. So the other thing is reliability, right? I mean, back to our statement of not messing it up and making sure this stays reliable for our customers as they've come to expect it. What have we done around reliability?
So a lot of that is we've took a lot of those voice of customers. Ziggy and I have had the opportunity to have some great, honest conversations with the design and development engineers and bring a lot of this field voice into the input and development of this platform program. So we'll touch on a couple key items and different changes that we've really highlight here for 21.
How about for fuel efficiency? Was there any gains from the B6.7 on fuel efficiency this time around?
Yes. So I mentioned a little bit earlier that the 17 launch that we're so proud of, it was nearly 8.5% fuel economy gain with that. That is hard to top in an engine launch platform. So with this launch, we were able to refine still the combustion recipe a little better. So you actually can audibly notice a difference with the 21 over the 17 product. We've actually got a measurable decibel reduction to help improve sociability and stuff, and for drivers to be able to hear better for intersections and the children and stuff. And so, yeah, it's been really great.
Awesome. So to get into a little bit more detail about what we're looking at, if the customer opens the hood, all right, or technician, and they open the hood, what's one of the first things that they're going to notice as a change?
Yeah, one of the first things you'll go to is the valve cover. You'll notice that this one still is unpainted due to being one of our engineering mules and prototype, but it's a modified valve cover design to actually hold a connectivity device and also provide mounting areas for an OEM to choose if they wanted to do an engine-mounted air cleaner.
And that connectivity device, does that help us and help the customer with uptime?
Yeah. So with that comes the different ECM controls. We've got a lot of great programs to help improve uptime and connectivity, remote diagnostics, remote calibrations, stuff to go forward with this one with.
That's exciting. That's exciting to hear for this year. What about the air handling system? Do we do anything in the air handling system to maybe help with maintenance or?
Yeah, so that's something else you'll be able to notice whenever you look under the hood. If you go to the near cylinder number 6 on the engine by the exhaust manifold, we added an additional exhaust gas pressure sensor. So this kind of comes twofold. One, it does tie in back with regulatory requirements. For onboard diagnostics, it enables to give us better capability to detect misfires, but at the same time, from a performance and long-term durability standpoint, having this better capability to measure that allows us to better retune and refine EGR flow And the less we can do that, the better efficiencies and stuff we can gain too.
When you just mentioned a key word that kind of jumped at me, and it was durability, right? And when you pull that up with durability, maintenance, it all kind of ties together. Did we do anything, what did we do inside of our power cylinder? Is there any changes with that?
Yeah, so as we mentioned that we were able to extend the oil drain, one of the key items that you have to be able to pull that back into is what really starts to break down oil and causes it to degrade over time. One of the things is the combustion gases from the power cylinder. So to help better control the blow-by or such, because some gas can slip by, so we do have an improved top compression ring, sorry about that, as well as the lower oil control ring. So it's twofold. You want to keep your gases where they're supposed to be, and also then too, keep the oil in the crankcase. And that leads to also better, longer intervals on DPF cleaning and such. As the oil gets into the cylinder, it gets burned, creates ash, and deposits itself to DPF. So with better oil control, we're able to help add to those pieces and get longer oil drains.
That's awesome. When you talk about the lube system, one of the components that comes to mind is a Lube Oil Cooler. What changes did we make with that to help tie in with the longer oil drain intervals?
Yeah, so we went with a copper-free cooler. So you may ask, why with that? So if you think about the pennies in your pocket, they always oxidize with time. The same thing with copper occurs in the engine. As it goes through its heat cycles and such, oil can become acidic and leach some of the copper elements out. So that's one of those things that help improve the long-term oxidation levels of the oil throughout the drain cycle. By removing the copper out of the engine, helps achieve that.
And we'd be amiss to say we didn't do something with electronics, because that is how we control the majority of our engines and meet these EPA regulations. Can you touch on what we did for the electronics on this engine?
Yeah, it's very common for us with each type of emissions change to further improve the ECM, engine control module. So this one, we're introducing the new CM 450. With it becomes more increased memory, faster processing speeds, all to tie back in with the OBD, better engine performance control, the after treatment and everything as well too.
And perfect segue into the after treatment, Ryan. And with that, how does the software changes affect the after treatment, or do they at all?
Yeah, so there is new unique software that did get tied to the after treatment tuning to help improve the OBD diagnostics and such. And with those diagnostics comes a new Delta P sensor, differential pressure sensor for the DPF. And why is that important is the better that also, once again, getting back to know how well or how loaded that DPF is, better regen frequency times, better diagnostics to tell you when you actually need to clean the DPF, and improve more uptime that way.
Awesome. What about the dosing system? That was new in 2010, and we've made some improvements in 2017. Were we able to further enhance that system?
Yeah, so we're now up to the UL 2.0 dosing system. So we introduced that single module, came with a single pump and a DEF cooled doser. So with this one, we further have refined that, made further improvements in reliability with those components as well.
So if I summarize the maintenance changes that I've heard both of us kind of talk about it here in the last couple of minutes, we have a DEF filter change for our dosing system that did not change. It still remains at 200,000 or 6,500 hours, whichever comes first, and that would be miles. And then our DEF, or DPF, excuse me, our DPF is also at 200,000 miles or 6,500 hours, whichever comes first. And then our valve lash stayed the same on this engine as well, so nothing changed in the overhead, and that's at 150,000 miles or 5,000 hours, again, whichever comes first. But you mentioned that there was an oil filter change. Can you expand on what we did with the oil filter change?
Yeah, so depending on your oil pan size, we've now been able to increase this oil drain up to 1,000 hours. Along with that comes a different oil filter part number. It's basically still the same filtration technology that we had. However, it does have some increased capacity to go with that longer oil drain.
What about your crankcase filter?
Great catch. So with that, we've actually removed that filter completely from the EPA 2021 product for both the B and the L series. We now went to an impactor filterless style system that requires zero maintenance for the life of the engine.
And if I was the one paying for the bills on this, I'd say, bam, yeah, we got it. All right, because that's a huge reduction in cost for sure. When you and I have sat with a lot of customers over the years, and one of the things that they come up with when we're talking about maintenance is, how do I understand how to schedule my maintenance? And you know, we use terms of miles, hours, kilometers, whichever comes first. But can you walk our customers through maybe a little example of what we're looking at when we say hours and how that works?
Yeah, so Ziggy and I have actually done a lot of work over the last decade to bring the North America bus market more towards a mileage-based system than for hours, just because with this duty cycle, we know there's a lot of idle time. It's not, the engine operation doesn't match how many times the tires roll down the road. So to help align with DPF cleaning and a lot of that stuff, we'll really emphasize the hours piece, because that typically occurs first before this market will ever mile out in comparison to on-highway truck. The same thing kind of goes for fuel burn and fuel economy. A lot of people don't necessarily in the bus world follow fuel economy numbers as closely as what on-highway truck does. So our manuals are written to be agnostic to market. So we have all the information there depending on what type of vehicle you got, but we really emphasize with this market, follow the hours piece. And we've done a ton of work. We've got lots of material available for your account executives and your support teams within our service network, that if you need any help in determining what your interval should be based off of your average vehicle speed or your hours, get in touch with them and we can help either provide tools to get that data for them or show them with their own tools on how to get more accurate with it.
Awesome, that's good stuff. You know, going from the maintenance, we talked about the reduction in some of our costs, but can you give us a good summary of what total cost of ownership means from Cummins' standpoint and what we're looking at?
Yeah, that's important with whatever piece of type of equipment you want to invest your money into, is not only is the initial cost and quality, but what the long-term total cost of ownership is going to be for that product life cycle. So with us, going back to touting how well the 17 launch went in that product, we reduced fuel burn at that point 8% on the total TCO. Now we're able to achieve an additional 2% off your previous TCO from the 17 product by removing the crankcase filter, quadrupling fuel filter intervals, and nearly doubling in the oil drain.
It's really exciting for the customer. That brings straight value to the customer's bottom line, and I know they can be excited about that. As we look at the 6.7 engine profile and kind of summarize what's changed from 2017 to 2021, I think some of the things that remain the same for us, one of the key things is our warranty. Our warranty still remains the same. It's unchanged from 2017 to 2021. Our engine weight, some of those things that are important to the customer remain the same. But can you touch on the 4 things that we did change?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, that's new ECM and software to go along with the new OBD requirements and such. So there's the CM2450 control module, and then the maintenance side of it. So we mentioned up to 1,000 hours on oil drain and up to 2,000 hours on fuel filters, both primary and secondary. And then the software improvements with the single module after treatment to kind of wrap it all up.
Okay. And I do want to make one final statement that the warranty is 5-year, 100,000 miles
Yes. Yep.
for our bus. And now when we look at the same profile for the L9 engine, the ratings for the B stayed the same. For the L9, they did change. And can you explain a little bit why and what we're looking at there with those ratings?
Yeah, so with the L9, some of the ratings did change and shift a little bit. Mostly the reason behind that was to downspeed the engine to help get some of those fuel economy improvements that we learned and gained so much with on the 17 B7 B series launch. We've now been able to apply those same learnings and fuel savings to the L series. So that did cause a shift in some of the horsepower and torque curves, just to match the similar drivability that everyone came to expect with the prior product.
Well, it's really exciting, and Ryan, I want to thank you for taking the time to meet with our customers via Zoom, if you will. But thank you for your time today. And as we go through this, I just want to tell the customers that our 2021 medium-duty product builds on our strong legacy of the reliability and performance that you've come to expect. We've got nearly 40 40 years of experience with production with over 12 million engines globally. This engine's again proven. Some of the improvements are to you the lowering your total cost of ownership with this new 2021 product, along with meeting the regulatory requirements for both EPA and CARB. And then finally, around uptime is having the connectivity enhancements around connected solutions